Hey there. So I wanted to do a very quick video about the Amazfit, pardon me, uh, T-Rex 3. So I have had this guy now for a couple of months because Amazfit reached out to me for some reason. I think maybe it's because of my activity, maybe on Reddit or a couple of surveys that I responded to. Or it could also be that I'm a bit of an Amazfit fanboy at this point. I do have the Hilo ring. I've got the strap. I'm currently clocking a Balance 2 on my hand, and I have the original Balance 1 over here as well. So I've got a full lineup of Amazfit stuff here. And to kind of give you an idea of where I came from, I've been a Garmin user for a long, long time. I love the way that ecosystem worked for me. And the title of this video talks about me as being, sort of a filthy casual. So as far as what I do from an activity perspective is I don't do triathlons or marathons or any of that kind of thing where you've got people that really scrutinize all of the stats and the data that they look at when they're running. Instead, I am sort of a multi-sport, multi-activity kind of guy. So I play tennis a few times a week. I lift weights in my garage. I go on hikes fairly frequently. I do stand-up paddleboarding. I play golf every once in a while. I kind of like do a bunch of different things. Now, what actually interested me in Amazfit, I tried them out a couple years ago, and I tried out I think the GTR 3, and I returned it in like a week. It just didn't live up to expectations. And when I saw the Balance about a year or so ago, I saw it and I thought it looked really good. I'd read up on things that maybe they've improved their software a bit, and so I went ahead and I pulled the trigger on that. And interestingly enough, I never put the Garmin back on. I had a Venue 2S that I used for a year or so, and I really liked it. But the Balance brings to it, and the Amazfit in general, Zep OS, um, much more functionality for my day-to-day use. So I will say that from a notification standpoint, some of the things you can do with the notifications, all of that, Amazfit has a leg up on Garmin for sure. As an example, with the Garmin, I could create automatic replies to text messages that were just canned. Basically, I could sort of create them and edit them, and that was nice to be able to reply to notifications that way. By the way, I use an Android phone. This capability I don't believe is available at all on iOS. Enjoy your walled garden. But with the Amazfit, with the TRX3 Pro, as well as the balances, I could respond in multiple ways. I can literally put a keyboard up on screen and tap a response. I could use the microphone to dictate a response. And you know what? The watch does a really, really good job of understanding me, turning it into a sentence, and sending it. It even has, which I use every once in a while, AI built responses as well, just based on the context of the message that comes in. It will, give you a sentence back that's fairly useful and kind of what you're trying to do. Um, and a number of other things. So just from a smartphone perspective or smartwatch perspective, I just think it did a better job than the Garmin does. And frankly, that's what I use it for most of the time, right? That's my day to day. I sit here in this office and I work from home and I get notifications on my watch or I'm out and about and that kind of thing. So for that, it's worked really well. Now, the interesting thing was I had the Balance 2 for maybe a month or two before Amazfit sent me the TRX 3 Pro. And so I got a chance to sort of break that in, and it improved on the Balance 1 in the ways that I was really hoping. Number one is it just feels a little bit more premium. There's some of the things about it that just kind of work better. It has the built-in speaker that actually sounds surprisingly good if you're taking a phone call on your watch. It's got the sapphire glass, so it's hopefully more scratch resistant. Although I didn't have any problem with the Balance 1 and getting any scratches on it. Battery life is longer. There's a few other quality of life issues, but it's a pretty incremental upgrade. I will also say that I tried out the T-Rex 3, the non-pro version, and the Balance at the same time to decide which one I actually wanted between the two of them. And I ultimately sent back the T-Rex 3, and the reason really came down to just the fact that it's a much larger watch than the Balance is at the end of the day, right? So the Balance 2 is thinner than the TRX 3. It sits a little bit less proud on the wrist. The TX 3 is sort of a chunky sort of. It's got sort of a what is it? The AP Live Oak look about it with the big fat titanium bezel, and it's a rather thick profile on this watch. But it is very rugged, and if you're into that kind of look, then you'll like this watch. Functionally, as far as the software goes, capabilities, all of that, they are dang close to identical. So I think that's an interesting thing about them is you don't really have to have much of a trade-off when it comes to whether you like one style of watch or another. They're both going to work really really similarly, and you'll find that pretty quickly when you start using them. One of the big exceptions to that, though, is might be a big one for some people, is the Balance 2 has golf mode, whereas currently, as of this video, the TRX3 Pro does not. So I don't know whether Amazfit will be adding that, but I will say that the now available worldwide golf mode on the Balance 2 is very good. It does exactly what I need a golf app to do, similar to the Garmin that I had previously. I can load in my courses. It gives me distances to the pin, front, middle, back, distances to hazards. I can plot where I want to hit. It'll tell me the yardage to it, and I can zoom in and scroll around on the map, and it works all just perfectly. It'll keep score for you if you want to. I generally just use it as a replacement for my rangefinder, and for that, it just works. It works really well. But it is missing on at least on the T-Rex 3 Pro today. Now, so back to this guy. What else, have I done with it? I did put it through his paces pretty well for the time that I had it, and I did a couple of activities that were kind of special to this watch. I was in Mexico for a while. I did a little bit of scuba diving and snorkeling, and I used it, for that. Nothing major. I was not like diving shipwrecks or deep depths or anything. Just simple stuff. But it did a great job. It showed me depth. It showed me, activity levels. All the things that you wanted it to do. It worked just brilliantly. And having the 4 buttons on it means that you have more options to interact with it rather than just a touchscreen. Beyond that, you get done with the activity, it automatically blows the water out by vibrating the speaker, which is neat. I just rinse it with some fresh water when you're done. It handled salt water with no problem whatsoever. The other thing that I think is really really valuable, and I wound up using quite a bit, is the flashlight. So just being able to press long on this top button to get the flashlight to turn on, and in fact I can even change it to a red light if I want to as well, was invaluable. So one of the other things that I did, I had a weekend in Joshua Tree where I did some hiking and used the heck out of the GTR3 Pro or TRX3 Pro for hiking. It did admirably for that. I'll get into that in a second. But I did some astrophotography as well. It's something else I'm into. And the red light is really helpful when you don't want to lose your night vision and not be able to see what you're looking at. But having it on your wrist means that I can very easily set up my camera and my tripod. And I had that light right there. Headlamp works well too, but if you forget it or you just, it can be in the way. Having it right there on your wrist when you need it is super slick, and it remembers the last setting. So like if you've put it on red light and then 2 weeks later you're back out in the dark and you turn it on, it'll be red again, and a couple clicks and it's back to white, and you can change the intensity too. So it winds up being much more valuable than I really expected it to be. So kudos for putting that in there. Balance 2 doesn't have that light, so there's a big difference there. Not a deal breaker, of course, but it's a different kind of watch, right? I'll wear this in a more rugged outdoor environment if I need to. Speaking of hiking, now did several hikes when I was in Joshua Tree, and one of the things I was able to do is go out and find a GPX map file for the hikes that we were doing. They're freely available, or you can get it on all trails, things like that. It was wicked easy to import it to the watch, just save it to the device, and there it is. And basically, when you go into the watch now and you start an activity, you can either look at the maps that you have in your watch. There's actually just a setting for, or an option for maps. Or you can just go to hiking, and under settings, I can say navigation, and maybe you can see this here. But if I go to navigation, you can see that there's the list of routes that are on there, and these represent my GPX files basically. And I can say, use route, or I can get a preview, and the preview will show me the map as it's loaded on there, along with the distance and all the information that you need on it. And honestly, just worked perfectly. It loads up and then it starts your hiking activity, and just like you would expect it to do, I can change the orientation of the map while I'm hiking, whether you want it north up or you want it direction up. The watch was considerate in giving me beeps when I got off trail, which I did a couple times because I was off wandering trying to take photos, and it points you in the direction to go back to where the marked map is. You can add waypoints. You can do all the things you really expect to do. So with that in mind, it worked as expected, it worked really, really well. The map, being able to scroll and move around the map and look to see where we were going was easy, really simple to do. You could use the touchscreen, you could use the buttons. So if you had gloves on or something, you could probably use it with the buttons just as easily. So really impressed with how it worked for that. The speaker built in works great. If you want to listen to phone calls or music or something like that. I wouldn't really use it for music personally, but obviously you can store a lot on here and pair it with Bluetooth speakers and then or Bluetooth headphones, go for a run, leave your phone at home, that kind of thing. So all in all, I don't want to make this video 1,000 minutes long. I will just say that for somebody like me who is into a bunch of different activities, wants to track their health metrics, right? And to that end too, I talked about notifications. I talked about some of the activities. One of the things that initially turned me onto Amazfit was when I got my Balance 1, it told me that, hey, you've had some hypopnea events during your sleep. And then it said that you may actually have sleep apnea. Well, that primed me to go get a sleep study, and it turns out that I did. And I then went and got a mandibular advancement device, the Daybreak in my case, not a sponsor. And ever since then, the watch reports to me that I no longer have, very, very, very few events that would be considered sleep apnea. The sleep study stuff agrees. So I will say, kudos to Amazfit for finding that and telling me. My Garmin did not do that, right? But everything else it tells me about my fitness, like resting heart rate, HRV, all that stuff is in here. The Balance 1 at least also gave you body composition, which they took away. Somewhat meaningless anyway. It was somewhat consistent, but probably inaccurate. But all in all, if you're somebody who does a bunch of different things, like you've got a lot of a multitude of activities, and you don't want to spend a ton of money on like a Phoenix level of Garmin, but you want a fully capable, fully functional watch, definitely take a look at the TRX 3 Pro. And that flashlight makes a huge difference. The thing is sturdy as all get out. I don't think you'll have any problem with longevity. I love that they changed the strap now too, so that you can actually put on standard watch bands. You don't. As one of the reasons I returned the original TRX 3 was like the fiddliness of trying to get a band on and off was just like no. This uses just quick connects like anything else, so it's awesome. So yeah, I definitely recommend this watch. I think for the price for what you get and its capabilities is super reasonable. It's rugged, it handles depth, it handles any activity you throw at it. The battery life kicks butt. It's just I think all in all, you could do a whole lot worse for what they're asking. And of course, paired with the rest of the ecosystem, like I've loved my Helio strap, and one nice thing about this too is the watch can recognize it, and they can do joint activities, so they bond together. And it also means that I can wear this without the Amazfit watch, and I can wear one of my classier watches when I want to. So I can get the TRX 3 Pro or the Balance 2 and the strap for less than an equivalent Garmin for sure, or any of the other ones that are out there. And I really think that I've been very impressed with the Amazfit over the last couple of years for how many updates and changes they've made. It takes a long time to get improved algorithms and make things better, but I think it's been admirable how quickly they've actually done that and listened to the community. They're active on Reddit, and I do think that they're trying to build these things with some intent, and I expect them only to get better. And if anything, they're kind of spurring the competition along to do things better. So anyway, I made this video to be short, and hopefully you have comments or questions. I'm happy to answer them. Again, just from a filthy casual, I'm not DesFit or DC Rainmaker or any one of these guys that is out there flying drones around and running 22 miles. I'm just a dude that likes to get outside. So if you've got questions, let me know. Happy to answer them. Thanks.